So in today's video, we're going to look at how you set up your outgoing email domain. So what is the email address that emails being sent from Sonas are sent from? So when you set up your venue, a funky email address is created for you. Email addresses are controlled under the company level, so company email domains. So we can see here for your outgoing domains, these emails have a funky email address. So we can see here for the wedding barn at UY6A, something you don't want to use, right? It looks kind of suspicious and spammy. That's on purpose because we want you to create your own domain. Use your domain, the one that you've built your brand on that has trust with customers. So in order to do that, you want to go actions, outgoing domain. You're going to put your domain here. And this could be whatever your email address is. This could be the same for all of your venues if you have multiple venues. It could be different for each venue. Okay, so we're put in the domain and we're going to hit OK. And this is going to generate the information we need for your DNS records. So now we see that domain here, pending validation. Hit the green validate. And this is the code that you need to update your DNS records with. The DNS records are associated with your domain registry. So when you go into your DNS records, you're going to add these codes. So we're not replacing, we're not editing existing records, we're adding new records. So for the CNAME, and you can cut and paste the red part, and then for your text entry. Now, please note that when we create these examples, or this code for you, longmanleisure.com is included in these, okay? Your DNS records will say if you're to include your domain or not, or see what the previous records, how they're listed to see if the domain is included. There are some DNS records that do not need the domain included. So it may just be PM bounces, and then it points to the pm.mt, right? So you're leaving the domain part out. So look at how your records are and any of the information associated with your records. Once these are put in, it can take up to 24 hours to have it validated. And then once it's validated, you'll come in here and you'll hit validate. And then this will go into green and will say validation completed. At that point, I'll just say validated in green. At that point, similar to this. So let's pretend that this is the validated address. You're going to hit address and you're going to go and say which the venue is, wedding barn, and then who is it from. So say events is my email address, and then the email name, and we'll say events team. So the events team is the name on the email. The actual email address is going to be events at Longman Hotel or whatever your domain is. And then you're going to hit save. Once that's saved on there, you can then, it's going to be inactive, but you're going to check this green box and activate that email address, which then activates this email. So any email being sent from Sonas associated with that venue will be coming from your newly created email address. Now, this email address, the events at, or whatever you decide, I do recommend a generic email, events team, because you're going to be utilizing it for all events at that wedding or at that venue, so all event types and at every status. So from inquiry through event completion. So you want an email address that's appropriate for wedding inquiries, or Christmas party event planning, and everything in between, okay? Now, this email that you have here that you created in Sonas needs to be a real email address as set up in your email system for your venue, in Gmail, Outlook, wherever. It needs to be an existing email, and that's because your customers will hit reply and send an email back to this email. At which point you're going to send a forwarding rule. You're going to put a forwarding rule into Outlook or Gmail or your email server, email client, and forward those emails back into Sonas, in which case you will be forwarding into your funky Sonas email address. So for the wedding barn, for example, I'm going to go into my Outlook and I'm going to set a forwarding rule for all emails sent to events@theweddingbarn.com will be forwarded to weddingbarn at uy68. Okay, so it's a forwarding rule. Now you need to pay attention to how Gmail, Outlook, whatever your email client, how it works for external forwarding. In some cases, they do require additional administrative permissions to set external forwarding in place. So Google some articles, there's some links from our help articles to find out, to make sure that you have that correct. And then test. Send an email to your newly created email, make sure it's forwarding into Sonas. And then when you send an email from Sonas, make sure it's being sent from your newly created email address. And that's how email will work from Sonas for your event-related email.